This is Community Unity Now, the D. Tycoon Show. I am Bill Morton, president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Our co-host, Trudy Leong, administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, couldn't be with us today because she's feeling a little under the weather. So she's staying at home to get well soon. Our guest today is Brenda Garcia.
Hi, everyone.
Brenda has had quite an ordeal,
Yes.
which includes violence, shooting, Insomnia Cookies, and
Retaliation.
retaliation from the workplace, and attorneys, and all that, OSHA, and everybody's in there.
Yeah, everyone.
So can you start by telling us your story, Brenda?
Of course. So I was employed by Insomnia Cookies for 2 years. One of those years I was an operations manager. As soon as I, came to that position, I started to realize some gaps in our safety, security, some concerns I had, and things I wanted fixed there just to make us feel a little bit safer. Rogers Park, the area that we're in, is like on campus, but it's nothing too crazy with the crime. So I did begin to email everyone. I tried to give kind of ideas like door buzzers, things like that. Because we were getting a lot of aggressive individuals coming into the store.
So let's just let our viewers know this is Insomnia Cookies, Sheridan. Insomnia Cookies, Loyola, also known as Insomnia Cookies, Rogers Park, and it's in the Morgan at Loyola Station. This is a building that's a mixed-use building. That means residential on the top, and storefronts on the bottom. It's like a corporate row on Sheridan Road. You've got a Taco Bell there, you've got a T-Mobile there, and you got a Potbelly there. You got some empty storefronts there, but they're all corporate. So this building is owned and operated by Loyola University Chicago. Okay.
Yeah, so when I started to realize that the violence and, the aggressive individuals we were getting in the store was becoming a little bit too common, I started to speak up a bit more about it. I had knowledge that our last 2 operations managers that worked at that same location were physically attacked, and of course I didn't want that to happen to me. So I, spoke out about it. I kept telling HR, I kept filing these incident reports. I did everything that they wanted me to do. And then it reached kind of a point, I believe it was in June of this year, where our HR director, Ashley Pimentel, was not too fond of me submitting incident reports continuously.
Were they trying to sweep these things under the rug?
Yes.
Under the carpet?
Yes. And I know when I was telling her everything and my concerns, she was saying it's too much to unpack for her. She tried to intimidate me into...
Too much impact? Too impactful?
To unpack, yeah.
To unpack?
Yeah, unpack.
Personally?
Personally for her, yeah.
But this is professional.
That's what I was saying. So she tried to intimidate me into not, submitting any more incident reports, or she tried to blame me for the uptick in incidents occurring at the store. And I felt offended by that. I felt really discouraged. After that entire meeting where she was just berating me, yelling at me, I went ahead and I filed an official grievance with the company, just to bring awareness to the situation. I was speaking to other managers as well, and everyone kind of had the same issue with Ashley, where she was kind of aggressive. She would yell, things of that nature. And, in a professional setting, nobody should be yelled at. Even outside of a professional setting, nobody should be yelled at. I always had the team's best interest, my staff. I always had their best interests in heart. I didn't want to cause any trouble there. It was really just me speaking up about how I didn't feel safe there. And I guess that kind of upset them. But I did file the grievance. It was a 4-page long grievance, so it was pretty lengthy. And, I explained to the company every single interaction with her. I requested that I no longer interact with her after that, because, a phone call where she's screaming and yelling and just everywhere, and I had to tell her, hey, I don't feel comfortable with your tone. I need you to just communicate through email. And it got to that point where I was scared.
So she was upset that you were reporting violence and public safety issues, employee safety issues.
Yes.
You didn't have a locked door. Did you ever have time when you were alone in insomnia at night?
Yeah, there was times where they wanted us to have one person scheduled in the morning, one person scheduled at night. I wasn't too fond of that, if I'm going to be honest. We had certain labor requirements that we had to do so we can make profits, and then we get bonuses off of that. And I didn't really care about the bonuses, if I'm going to be honest. I cared more about our safety and how the team felt. So I just went ahead and I continued scheduling, over our labor requirements. And I kept telling them we don't feel safe at night, having one person close at 3 a.m. at night, because we are a late night cookie shop. You never know. And I'd rather it just be, they're safe, there's one other person there. And if it, just...
If something were to happen, there's only one person there. Did you have a panic button?
We did not have a panic button. I actually suggested that to them.
Security cameras, at least?
We did have security cameras, but I never had access to any security cameras, so I would never know what's going on in that
Did
store.
the police ever stop by and check on you?
Yes. I want to say towards the end of my career at Insomnia, I feel like the police just kind of knew us. Like, I would call them and I'll be like, hey, Insomnia Cookies, Sheridan Road, and they'll be like, we're on it, and they would arrive. But, by the time they arrived, the attacker would usually be gone. Sometimes I think this early October, we did have somebody that got pretty aggressive and was harassing us over free cookies. The police had to remove him twice. He came back a third time, and that's when the officers urged us to shut down, to cease operations immediately.
Was this the one with the knife?
No, that was a different situation. The one with the knife was May. I think it's because they're so close to the red line that anyone and everyone is just there. But yeah, it was in May where there was an attacker, and I think he was outside of our front door. It was me and my assistant operations manager, and he began to expose himself at the front door. So my assistant operations manager, he was a man. He went over there and he told him, like, hey, you can't be doing that here. Like, please, like, go somewhere else. Like, we're just trying to be as nice as possible to, like, not start any trouble and just, but also, like, get him away from us. He began to argue back and forth. We unlocked the door. He took a knife out, which I have a picture if you would like me to share that too. Took a knife out, and he began to threaten us. And then he began to stab at our windows and scrape the window with the knife. And the entire time, he was just kind of like directing it towards him. Then he started directing it towards me. It was a very scary situation. I called the police. I don't even think we shut down that day, if I'm going to be honest with you. HR had no clue. So that happened before that whole grievance was filed and the phone call happened. So, like the man with the knife, obviously, like I sent in the incident reports. I did everything I can. I made everyone aware, like this is going on. We need help. We need something here. We need a security, anything. They were just very dismissive of it. Fast forward to when I got on the phone call with Ashley Pimentel, the HR director. She had no knowledge of it, even though she was looped in the email. And I sent it. She was looped in the email, and then I sent it to our people team at InsomniaCookies.com. She had no idea what I was talking about, and that's when she told me to slow down because this is too much to unpack for her.
I think the crime needs to be unpacked. I think that we need a solution for this issue. As the president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce and a longtime resident, I know there are a lot of issues at Loyola campus.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There was an old man who fell down the stairs at Loyola Station.
Yeah.
And some guy just took his wallet and didn't call for help, and the man died. There's a lot of tragic things going on in our neighborhood. But tell us about the most recent one.
Most recent one was October 28th. And I still kind of tend to get a little bit emotional about it just because it was a lot during that time. October 28th at around 2 p.m., I had two people enter the store. It was a young man and a young woman. And they were screaming that I need to call the police, that he's bleeding out, that he's hurt, that he just got shot. And I froze. You know, it's so close to Halloween and we're by campus, and I really thought it was a prank. I thought somebody was pranking me. And I did. I froze for a second. I didn't know what was going on. And when the young man turned around and I saw the, like, bullets in his arm, in his left arm, I went into autopilot. I want to call it autopilot because I don't know what else to call it. But I ran, I locked the door, I took us to the back, and they were asking if we had a back exit, and we do, but it's a maze. It's a literal maze. Like, I can show you videos. It is a literal maze back there. Like, there's one long dog crawlway, and then it leads you to, like, another one, then it leads you to one more, and then, like, it's confusing, and I brought that up to, like, our security team as well, and, like, management and everything. I even showed it to district managers, you know, how hard is it to get out so we don't have a secondary exit. Mm-hmm. Like, we do, but we really don't. And that's when the girl began to shout that if we leave through the back exit, we will die. We're going to get killed. And I'm glad she said that because after everything was over and I had reviewed the police scanner, you know, they post that. The attacker, the shooter, was actually in the alley when all that happened. So we were kind of trapped in those back hallways, I guess so to say. Because again, like, our store is kind of the layout. It's like an open concept. You've seen it. You know, there's no actual, like, barricade between us and the customers. So we were just kind of trapped in there. The girl began to cry, and, you know, it's obvious, you know, it's something traumatic. And she kept telling me she just wants to go home. And I told her it's fine. She can go home, you know. And I told her, you know, take care of yourself, because I know how I was feeling at the time. And they reminded me so much of my younger siblings and cousins. Mm-hmm. So it really hit home. And then the young man was, you know, screaming, like, in pain. Like, he was telling me how much it hurts. And all he wanted to do was speak to his mother. So after I called the police and everything, I let him speak to his mom. And, you know, giving someone's mother that phone call just isn't... It's traumatic, you know? She thought I was pranking her. She kept saying, like, please, like, this isn't funny. And please tell me you're joking. Like, you're joking. And I was like, no, ma'am. Like, your son has been shot. I'm the operations manager, Brenda, from Insomnia Cookies on Sheridan Road. And then he came over and he told her, no, Mom, like, I'm not joking. And the cry she let out is so haunting. It really was just a bad experience for everyone involved. I stayed on the phone with their paramedics came and everything. I attempted to, like, ask everyone out there, like, you know, what hospital is he going to? What hospital is he going to? But there was a crowd of people, like, they shut everything down. So we had yellow tape all around our store, and then they had put red tape in front of our doors because they had brought him out from there. Once I told his mom, you know, I'm not sure where they're taking him, but, you know, I'll keep you posted with any updates. And she was already, like, you know, heading over here. I ended up calling my district manager, and I explained the whole situation to her. You know, to my best of my ability, I was crying, and I probably sounded a mess, and it's okay for me to sound a mess. But I called her, and I explained to her the entire situation and what was going on. And her first question to me was, you know, do you have coverage? Is there anyone in here that can come and cover your shifts? And I was stunned, genuinely was stunned. Like, I just explained to her that I treated a gunshot victim. She hears me on the phone having an entire panic attack, and all she's worried about is keeping the store open. So that call ended pretty shortly because I guess she didn't really want to deal with all of that. I ended up calling our regional trainer, Samantha Jackson, and she was asking me, you know, oh, is there blood? Is there blood? I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm not too sure. She was like, just get a rag and, like, clean it up. And I'm not trained. I kept telling them I'm not trained to clean blood. I've never cleaned up blood, you know, besides, like, maybe, like, a cut or a scrape or something. But I've never cleaned up blood. And
so,
like,
how did you clean up the blood?
With rags and spick and span, like they told me, and they also told me to make sure I wear gloves.
So this isn't a biohazard. This is a crime scene. This is someone who's been shot 3 times in the arm, and the blood is, I don't know how the blood is coming out, but and he's all around areas of the store, from the front to the maze in the back. And you weren't trained to clean up these kind of things, and the corporation didn't send a professional cleanup.
Not to my knowledge. The entire time I was there, I mean, I got terminated on that Friday, but to my knowledge, there was no professional cleaner. I'm not sure if after, when I called OSHA, maybe they sent somebody in to professionally clean, but again, I'm not sure.
So this victim was shot, and he was with you.
Yes.
How long was he with you?
It's hard for me to tell. It felt like forever, but when I went back and looked at my call logs to send to my attorney, the calls were like 8 minutes and 5 minutes and 10 minutes, and it seemed like it was maybe 20 minutes tops, but it felt like forever. Like, even when looking back, it felt like forever. It genuinely did.
Do you know if he was a Loyola student?
He actually worked, I've heard, somebody had told me that he worked in the dining hall. I'm not sure if he's a student or not. But I did reach out to his mother because I had her phone number, asked her, how he's doing, and he has been recovering well, and I'm glad for that. I'm happy, everything came out all right after something that scary, and, I hope he makes, a full recovery as quick as possible.
Are you aware that there were 3 people involved in the incident?
Yeah, actually, someone that had gotten injured or shot. I'm not sure if shot. Or injured. Yeah, he had a big Band-Aid around his hand when I had brought the young man out there for paramedics, and he was also screaming, and there was a lot of people everywhere, and they actually found the shooter right in front of our store, directly in front of our store. I have pictures as well. Just right there, just watching the store, and I even told my upper management team, I told corporate, it's hard to not think of the what ifs in that situation. What if I didn't lock the door in time? What if we did leave through the back exit? You never know.
So what did they find in the back? What was he in the back? The shooter?
I believe they recovered his gun in the back of the alley.
He's trying to hide it?
I'm assuming so. I mean, he just shot into a crowd of innocent people, so I'm assuming he was trying to confiscate his own weapon.
So what I want to say here is, our alderwoman, Maria Haddon, in the 49th Ward, when we have, it seems like every other day, we have a shooting, and she very often says, it was a targeted shooting. This is the official word, targeted shooting. Just because it's a targeted shooting doesn't mean that the trauma doesn't spread throughout our community. It doesn't mean that it's okay because the intended target is the one that got hit or killed. It will stay with our community forever. And we have to experience this over and over and over again. And this is the most recent story. And you got fired over this.
Yes.
You've got trauma over this.
Yeah.
Your coworkers do as well. The students at Loyola, the shooting victims, the residents in the area, and everybody in Rogers Park and much of Chicago, we have to hear about it all the time. It's traumatic. So there's more to it than just targeted shooting. That doesn't make it okay, and it doesn't normalize it whatsoever. It doesn't calm us down. It doesn't make us feel better. Let's just get to the facts about what's going on here. It's a public safety issue in Rogers Park, what we're talking about here. And, we need a public safety plan in the 49th Ward, and we don't have one. I asked Alderwoman Haddon, I said, do you have a public safety plan in her meeting? And she did not have a public safety plan. We went over to the 24th District Police. Okay. We spoke with them. And we are coming together with a new public safety plan. So I want to invite you to speak with us as well.
I will. I definitely will join anything in regards to that because, I'm pretty new to Rogers Park. I think I've been living there for 3 years, but I grew up all over Chicago. I came from Little Village. We grew up in back of the yards, Gage Park, West Englewood. I've been through it all. But Rogers Park, when I first arrived there, I want to say it was different. It was. It was the change that I was looking for, and I feel, that just the entire past year, I live near Morse, and all about the shootings there in Morse. It's almost daily. I after the sun goes down, I don't go out there. And it's crazy because even in broad daylight, there's shootings. And I didn't know that the situation October 28th was considered a targeted attack because what the young man was explaining to me was that he was walking and there was a group of people, like he wasn't a part of them, it's just a normal group of people, like just walking. And then the shooter was just bumping into people, like cursing them out, just bumping into people. So obviously he bumps into the young man, and the young man was just like, hey, excuse me.
So
like,
this one you would say is random.
Yeah,
not targeted.
This one was definitely random, and it was crazy because anyone could be in the crowd, including children. But he did say, like, excuse me, and the shooter turned around and was, like, yelling at him, like, do you have a problem, this and that, and the kid was like, no, I don't. That's when the guy pulled out the gun and he threw the cup, like his water cup. It was a water cup, so it wasn't like it was an argument or anything back and forth. It was just a shooter that was crazy and just shot into a crowd of innocent people. So I had no idea that this was considered a targeted attack because it definitely
Well, we
was
hear
not
targeted
one.
all the time. I'm not aware if it was actually, this one was actually called targeted.
Yeah.
I was just making the point that
Okay.
very often it's called targeted.
Yeah.
And a recent one inside of a building, maybe a couple of nights ago, it was a shooting inside of an apartment building, and they were friends, and it involved alcohol.
I see those on Citizen all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen that, and I was just like, that's kind of crazy. Like,
That's what you do with your friends when you're drinking? No.
You shouldn't have those friends around.
No, not at all.
Definitely not.
Okay, so let's get down to it. Lawsuit, protest.
Yes. So, Tuesday I went in to work because I did not get any response back, and I didn't want them to fire me. So I went into work, obviously with the trauma and everything that had happened.
Let's pull up that file and explain that file that we have. Can we pull up the file, please?
Oh, the file.
There we go. Explain what this
Call
is.
notice. Yeah, so Insomnia Cookies have been operating without a business license for 2 years. I brought this to their attention a few times now, actually. Same thing with the inspections. We have not had an inspection since, I believe, November 2022. I kept the store up to standards. I was always, freaking out, like the health inspector might come, but I always made sure everything was like up to date, everything was clean. I would, make the cookies the way, you should, but I've no other stores that kind of have issues with cleanliness there. But yeah, we haven't had a business license for 2 years. I'm unsure if they paid the fines. They owe, I believe, over $700 in fines to the city of Chicago and haven't paid them. So I'm not entirely sure if they decided to pay them when I got terminated. But yeah.
So here's just a quick question. No business license for 2 years.
No business license.
And Loyola's leasing to them with no business license. And they're in business. And are they cooking the cookies?
The cookies.
Are they cooking are they baking the cookies there?
So we get them frozen and then we bake them for about 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And did they throw away the cookies and clean all the equipment after the shooting?
They did not. We actually had a delivery truck that day, and they forced us to stay there. I didn't get to go home till 8:30 p.m. They officially released me to go home at 7 p.m. that day. The shooting happened at 2 p.m. We did truck like normal. All of us were just on autopilot. It was so traumatic. It was so draining. We just wanted to go home. So we, listened to what they told us to do, and we offloaded the truck, a whole pallet. We did that. We put it away, and then we swept up, mopped, and went home.
With spick and span.
With spick and span, yes. No
Not
bleach.
bleach.
No bleach. No bleach.
All right. Wow. This story is amazingly tragic.
Yes.
I'm so glad you got through it. Okay.
Thank you.
There was a protest. There were 2 protests.
Yes.
And you're getting a lot of media attention, which is really good. You're here. You were featured on the Wizard News on WZRD 88.3 FM. You're doing an interview at WLUW 88.3 FM.
Yes.
Inside Publications interviewed you. Black Club Chicago interviewed you.
Yep, as well as Loyola Phoenix.
And the Loyola Phoenix, you need to get attention for workers' rights and
the public safety as well.
And public safety issue as well. Yeah. One more word. Anything else to say?
I guess to the viewers, don't quit. It would have been so easy for me to just quit and pass this issue along to somebody else. But, You know, I wasn't a quitter. My mom wasn't a quitter. We immigrated here in the 80s. Just keep pushing forward. Don't let anybody take your voice away from you. You have a voice. Use it to the best of your ability.
Thank you so much. Brenda Garcia, former employee of Insomnia Cookies, Rogers Park. Insomnia Cookies, LUC. Insomnia Cookies, Sheridan Road. I'm so glad that you're using your voice. I'm so glad that you helped this victim. I know it's traumatizing. I know it's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. So thank you for coming.
Thank you guys for listening to me.
And this is Community Unity Now. I hope you have a great time and be safe.